The following KQED production was produced in high definition.
Tonight on Quest. From the time an embryo is 3 weeks old, the heart never stops working to keep us alive. But if children are overweight, they double their risk of heart disease later in life.
Individuals who have obesity from childhood have old blood vessels in their heart.
Heart disease kills more Americans than any other cause of death, more than cancer, car accidents, or AIDS. On this Quest special, meet a teenager fighting to lose weight.
I really would like to get under 200 pounds.
Then find out how the chances of surviving a heart attack depend on how fast you get to the operating table.
There's an adage that we use in cardiology that time is muscle.
And finally, see how doctors may one day be able to rebuild damaged hearts with a single injection.
Support for Quest is provided by the S.D. Bechtel Jr. Foundation, the David B. Gold Foundation, the Dirk and Charlene Cabsinel Foundation, the Vadez Family Foundation, and the Wincoat Foundation. Support is also provided by the members of KQED.
One, two. All right, hit it. Go, Lorena. Get those knees up. Yay!
My name's Lorena. I'm 14 and I'm a freshman at Castro Valley High School.
A year ago is when I really set out to lose weight. Right now I weigh around 213 pounds, which I think is a really big step from where I was in the beginning of the year. I was 224 pounds at the beginning of the year. But I really would like to get under 200 pounds. That's my big goal right now.
Measure you.
Lorena Ramos has been receiving treatment at the Healthy Hearts Clinic at Children's Hospital in Oakland for a year. The program was started by a group of pediatricians in 2004 out of the realization that kids in the Bay Area were gaining weight at an alarming pace.
Well, when I first became really concerned, I was a pediatrician working at a clinic in Livermore, and I got a phone call from the school nurse that said, I have a couple of kids that I'd like to refer to you because they're so overweight, they're actually not able to ride their tricycles.
The CDC has been graphing for the last 20 or 30 years the incidence of obesity and the prevalence of it throughout the U.S. It's like watching an alien invasion taking over the country. It's pretty scary.
In 1980, 1 in 6 American adults was obese. By 2010, 1 in 3 adults had become obese. And as grown-ups became bigger, so did children. Today, fully 1 in 6 kids is obese, which doubles their risk of suffering from heart disease later in life. The crisis has prompted concern at the highest level.
That's one of my big things. Let's Move is about kids eating healthy and moving and staying active.
Individuals who have obesity from childhood have old vessels, blood vessels in their heart, even by the time they're in their 20s. And we're very worried that as these 20-somethings get into their 40s and 50s, that we're going to have a real epidemic on our hands with heart disease.
Today, heart disease is already the leading cause of death for men and women in the United States. The toll is staggering. Heart disease kills 600,000 Americans each year. That's the equivalent of 3 jumbo jets full of passengers crashing every day. And if teenagers continue to put on weight at the current rate, in 25 years, thousands more people could die each year. Many factors conspire to make kids obese and sick. Everything from a genetic predisposition toward diabetes, which people of Latino and Asian descent like Lorena have, to difficult family circumstances.
And I think it was a combination of things. eating foods that are unhealthy, lack of exercise, watching too much TV. Also too, her father and I had separated before she had gained weight, and I think she was dealing with that emotionally by comforting herself with eating foods. This is a picture of Lorena and her father at her preschool graduation, and she's a daddy's girl, you can see. Lorena's dad was overweight. Recently, he passed away, actually, from health problems. That's another thing, that's another reason why I'm so adamant about her being healthy. We've talked about this. You know, he was 35. Several years ago, after some lab tests, she did come back as a warning for pre-diabetic, and that was very hard on me.
Pre-diabetes increase your risk for having diabetes. So for kids, they tend to develop what's called type 2 diabetes. Over time, you increase your risk for cardiovascular disease, whether it be heart attacks or strokes.
As soon as I got that call from the doctor, all I could think about was her having to take insulin injections and lab tests and doctor visits, and nobody wants that for their daughter.
You guys can have a seat in those 2 chairs.
I needed help, so that's when we started the Healthy Hearts program.
So today's your 7th visit.
One more, right?
Yeah.
The goal of the program is to really prevent kids from developing diabetes and hypertension, these kind of illnesses of adults, to really ensure lifelong good nutrition and physical activity.
Nice throw. Woo!
The payoff from losing weight can be huge. Research has found that obese children who lose weight might eliminate their extra risk of suffering from diabetes and damaged blood vessels as adults.
Ooh, nice.
And studies have shown that heart disease can actually be reversed with diet and lifestyle changes. Research conducted by Marin County cardiologist Dean Ornish in the mid-1980s showed that a low-fat vegetarian diet, coupled with stress management and exercise, reversed heart disease for most participants.
You know, I've been a veteran of many diet debates and so on, but there's a real convergence of what constitutes a healthy way of eating and living. And it's really eating as close as possible to food in its natural, unrefined form. Fruits, vegetables, whole grains, legumes, and soy products.
Lorena's first step to getting healthier was to reduce the amount of food she eats with the help of the clinic's nutritionist.
I ate a lot of rice with my meals, like at least 1.5 cups with every meal. But now I only eat rice once or twice a day, maybe like 1/2 cup to a cup with it.
Lorena also became a vegetarian, motivated by her work at the clinic's community garden in North Oakland.
There is some data out there that suggests community garden interventions can be helpful for increasing fruit and vegetable consumption for kids. And that's definitely one of our aims. But really, we also hope to really make the kids more aware about what the food environment is.
Seeing a bottle of Coke, it was more this morning, but it's usually up to here. That's how much sugar is in a whole bottle of Coke. I mean, that's why I don't drink soda. So you want to just pull the ones out that are really close together so they can grow even more.
We actually get up close. Nature's actually kind of
At first I didn't really want to do it, but my mom convinced me. So I'm really glad that she did, because the garden's kind of like a big part of my life.
So I brought home greens, chives, kale, collard greens, and beets.
That's very good. Yeah, Lena. I always like the green. Feel like it's very fresh, everything. Yeah.
Since I'm full vegetarian now, I'm forced to eat a lot more vegetables.
Good.
Just make sure, you're vegetarian, you're still eating vegetables. With a vegetarian diet, a lot of times there's a compensation with extra cheese, and they end up actually, ironically, introducing a lot more saturated fat.
Yeah, like when I get sandwiches at school, I ask for the veggie kind, and they're like, oh, you want more cheese?
Even at home, the temptation to eat badly is everywhere.
Things like this, like Nutella, I find it kind of hard to not eat it. That's a hazelnut spread. In 2 tablespoons, it has 11 grams of fat. It's my grandma's. It was like hidden for a while, so I didn't even know it was here. I just found it not that long ago.
If eating well can be difficult, getting enough exercise can be even more of a challenge.
Hi, ladies.
That's why patients of the Healthy Hearts Clinic meet with an exercise specialist.
I heard you were pretty smart.
Yeah, straight A's.
Straight A's? Okay, now, one thing we didn't do last time that I'd like to do today, if you're willing, is to do a fitness test.
Okay.
Up, down. You can use your arms if you want, swing them. Up, down.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead and have a seat.
Yeah. So was that about a minute?
That was exactly 1 minute.
Okay. So did your legs burn out?
Kinda.
Yeah, because your heart's, I know you got a lot more in your lung capacity. So.
After their session, exercise specialist Tess Barbieri reports the results to Lorena's pediatrician.
She and her mom have not gone to the 24-hour fitness that they had agreed to do.
Okay.
And we did a step test. Now, it didn't go great.
Had she done it before?
No, she hadn't done it before. She did 1 minute instead of 3.
Okay.
And she basically stopped when she wanted to. Later, we had her jump rope. 6, 7, 8, 9, 50. Yes. Look at that, was a piece of cake for you. Yeah. Piece of cake, 50 jumps. So she's not in terrible shape.
I think you really have to teach kids at a young age that movement is just a part of their lives. So when they enter the teenage years, where I think fatigue sets in, but not true fatigue, it's just this desire not to move. And if they've never really moved before, or that's been a part of something they do, it just hits harder.
Did you ever play basketball?
Yeah, I played basketball in 3rd grade.
Oh, and how'd you do?
I wasn't good at shooting, but
Yeah. But passing, I bet you were pretty decent.
passing and rebounding.
Okay, that's a lot.
Because of the schedules between her time with her father and I, it just made it difficult to find time for sports. And Lorena wanted to spend that time with her father, so the sports didn't really work out for us. I feel like it's my responsibility. I'm her mother, so if she asks me if we could go to the gym, I should be able to make time for it, which is what we're working on.
Okay, you've gained a little bit of weight, 2.5 pounds. My guess is that you haven't been going to the gym, and it sounds like you're not doing any other activity in the afternoons or on the weekends. Is that true?
Yeah.
Yeah, that we need to talk about ramping that up for sure.
Okay.
Were you surprised?
A little bit, because I thought I'd been doing good, but apparently not.
Despite her weight increase, Lorena's pediatrician has good news for her.
I wanted to make sure I showed you this actually because I want you to see the big picture, which is pretty nice. And just to kind of recap, the green zone is like perfectly healthy zone. Yellow zone is what we call sort of at risk, and then red zone would be where you're, at higher risk for diabetes or elevated cholesterol. So when you started, which was about a year ago, you were right here. I plotted the last visit that you were here, which was actually down there. And that's a nice sharp curve. I mean, you keep going in that direction, and just a few years, you'd be in the green zone, no problem. So that's great.
But this is really good though, because it's progress.
I want you to hold on to that.
Okay.
Yeah. We usually follow them in our clinic for 6 months to a year. We're not going to follow her throughout the rest of her adolescence, and so the biggest goal is really to get her on the right path.
I'm pretty optimistic that I could lose the next 10 pounds, but I'm a little bit worried about everything after that. And I'm really afraid of just gaining all the weight back, because it has happened to me before.
Public health experts agree that turning the tide on obesity will require more than personal determination.
In order to change this epidemic, we need a movement. We need something as big as the anti-smoking campaign.
Farmers were paid a lot of money to grow unhealthy food. And so when you go to a fast food restaurant, the cheaper calories are the ones that you get a lot more for your dollar when you eat the unhealthier foods. You know, I consulted with the CEO of McDonald's 8 years ago. We were able to get them to put salads on the menu. The problem is, because of these perverse subsidies, the salad is $6.95, the burger's 99 cents. Let's write our members of Congress. Let's demonstrate. Let's make a difference and say, wait a minute, we don't want the most unhealthy foods to get the most subsidies so they become the cheapest. We want the healthier foods.
The First Lady of the United States.
Mrs. Obama's movement is the beginnings of it. But I think it needs to be bigger and louder. You really just need to eat healthy and move. You really do. That becomes the mantra.
The day of my heart attack, I woke up and I just felt real weak and tired a little bit. I just thought, oh, it's acid reflux, acid indigestion, it's nothing, you know. But I had promised my 4 grandkids I was fixing chicken cacciatore, so I went and got it all ready. And then around noon, I laid down because I just didn't feel right.
She didn't want to stop doing what she was doing, but her husband, it became evident that she was so weak and debilitated that he called 911.
What happened afterward saved 72-year-old Arlene Scuba from dying of a heart attack. Paramedics diagnosed her and alerted John Muir Medical Center in Concord that they were bringing in a heart attack patient from nearby Clayton. By the time the ambulance arrived at the hospital 15 minutes later, everything was in place for a cardiologist to get to work opening up Mrs. Scuba's arteries.
If she hadn't been intervened upon the way she was, she wouldn't have survived at that time.
Though heart disease remains the #1 cause of death in the United States, doctors are saving more heart attack victims than ever before. In less than a generation, the approach has completely shifted.
Back in the 70s and 80s, I was actually taught as I was going through my cardiology fellowship that we should not touch a patient with a heart attack.
All doctors did was keep patients comfortable and watch up to 20% of them die. A heart attack occurs when a blood clot in one or more coronary arteries completely cuts off blood flow to the heart muscle. Cholesterol plaques that have built up in the arteries over time tear, causing blood to clot suddenly.
Blood clots rapidly, so within a few minutes you can go from 50% to 100% blockage. The longer that an artery is blocked, and thereby heart muscle is deprived of oxygen and blood flow, the more muscle is damaged and actually dies. There's an adage that we use in cardiology that time is muscle.
The key to saving lives is to reduce the time it takes to get blood flowing again to the heart muscle.
Okay, you've got simultaneous pressures.
By unclogging patients' arteries sooner, doctors are now able to save all but 5% of those who make it to the hospital. Since 2006, a national effort to improve coordination has reduced the time it takes for a patient to get from the hospital door to the operating table. At John Muir, it usually takes under an hour, compared to a national target of 90 minutes. Once doctors discovered in the 1980s that blood clots cause heart attacks, they worked on ways to eliminate them. They now can slide a narrow plastic tube called a catheter up to the blockage. The catheter can carry a balloon to push the clot aside, or a device to suck it out. The doctor may then position a metal mesh called a stent to hold the artery open. In Arlene Scuba's case, the clot was cutting off blood flow to so much of her heart that doctors called this type of lesion a widowmaker. Using balloons and stents, doctors were able to save her heart.
I mean, it's amazing to think that this lady who was almost dead, who was shocked 3 times, resuscitated, now has virtually a normal heart muscle. That's what she has. It's really incredible.
I'm just luckiest person on earth, I guess. One of the lucky ones.
One of the issues that we have is for the patient to recognize that they're having a heart attack. That's a really major issue. There can be a myriad of different symptoms: chest tightness or pressure, neck discomfort, jaw discomfort, even upper back discomfort.
Just dial that 911. Dial 911. It's so important. It's the only way you're going to make it.
From the moment an embryo is 3 weeks old till the day an organism dies, the heart never takes a break. The heart cell is unique in that it incorporates some features of brain cells and some features of muscle cells all together. It's actually an amazing thing to see cells in a dish that just without any stimulus just start contracting. And it's that property that allows the cells in unison to generate force and pump blood through the body. But there are nearly 1 million people in the United States every year who have a new heart attack.
Though doctors can save most patients' lives, they can't always preserve all of their heart function.
An individual may have trouble walking up a flight of stairs. They may have to stop several times trying to walk across the street to get to work. There are a variety of approaches we use right now to help people who are left with damaged hearts, but none of them actually get to the root of the problem, which is replacing that damaged heart muscle. And that's where our focus has been at Gladstone. And you have enough for how many mice today?
So I have enough for like 3 mice.
Researchers at the Gladstone Institutes in San Francisco have discovered a way to coax mouse hearts into rebuilding themselves. In their experiments, they first give research mice a mild heart attack.
We do a more limited type of heart attack that doesn't result in too many symptoms in the mice and doesn't cause death. So we first anesthetize the mice so they don't feel any of the pain. It's almost out. There are billions of muscle cells in the heart that are important for the squeeze of the heart. But there's an equal number of cells that are really there to support the muscle cells and sort of form the architecture of the organ. The support cells are the ones that actually make the scar after a heart attack. And the breakthrough we've made is that we found a way to genetically engineer these cells to make new muscle instead of scar.
First, the researcher mimics a heart attack by cutting off blood to part of the heart. Then she injects 3 genes that will transform the scar cells into beating heart muscle cells.
3 months after the injury, what we find is quite remarkable. Using ultrasounds on these animals, what we see is that the heart's function is greatly restored. The ultrasound provides us an image of the walls of the heart and the valves in the heart and shows how it squeezes and relaxes with each heartbeat. It's very close to normal in the amount of blood it's able to pump out to the rest of the body. There's still some scar, we can see that, but embedded within the scar tissue is new muscle. We like to think of our new approach as the next generation of cellular reprogramming technology. There are several challenges that remain to get this new reprogramming approach into patients. One of those is that we have to make sure that it's scalable to the size of a human heart, where instead of thousands of cells that we might need to regenerate in the mouse, we may need millions in the human heart. The second thing that we have to do is to make sure that this will be a safe approach. And for that, we will likely use a larger animal model that's closer to human, such as a pig. And then the final thing that we really have to work out is what is the best way to deliver the reprogramming genes into the cells of the heart. I'm hopeful that in the next few years, we're able to tackle these technical hurdles and start to prepare for a clinical trial. Fortunately, most people don't realize how special these cells are. because that means they've never had a problem with it. If people had a better appreciation of how unique and valuable their heart cells are, that might spur them to be more protective of them.
Want to expand your Quest? You can stream all Quest segments live on the web 24/7. Or download Quest podcasts from Apple's iTunes. You can also find resources for educators and catch up on Quest radio and news reports. And remember to check out our web video series, Science on the Spot. All this and more at kqed.org/quest.
Support for Quest is provided by the S.D. Bechtel Jr. Foundation, the David B. Gold Foundation, the Dirk and Charlene Kabsanel Foundation, the Vadez Family Foundation, and the Wincoat Foundation. Support is also provided by the members of KQED.
A KQED HD production.